But from that moment, it set off something. You're going to have to fix yourself. No one's going to do it for you.
Welcome to another episode of Empower. I am your host, Michaela Longdon, and this podcast is all about brave beginnings, growing confident through conversations. And today we have a very special guest, Cal O'Connell. Welcome.
Hello. I'm not used to doing it from this side of the
Normally it's the other way around.
It is, yeah. So this is fun. Yeah, hi.
So I'm curious. This is a confidence podcast and it's all about brave beginnings and doing things that are difficult. Why do you think I've invited you onto the channel?
Oh, I'm sure you'll tell me.
Tell us a little bit about you, what your current job is, what you work as, your history. Yeah, tell us, because we've got Tales from Davidstown in the background, you'll see. The setup is way better today. It's been Cal and Tales have sponsored the podcast today, so thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We have a brilliant setup today. But tell us a little bit about you and your story and, I suppose the future.
Oh, God, I mean, that's a huge question.
Huge question.
Okay, well, I work as a co-owner of Arrow Pictures with Julia Munder, my wife, and our goal is to make good quality stories, whether that be as films, as audio series, as, whatever media we can kind of get our hands on. I've come from a very sort of background professionally, very kind of tumultuous 20s of doing lots of different things because, you don't know what you're doing at that age and sort of working it all out. And I think it wasn't until I got to like 28 years old after doing a whole range of things, I kind of started rediscovering, I think, a real passion for storytelling, for filmmaking specifically. And over the last 15 plus years now, in sort of various different ways, I've been exploring that and trying a few different roles, eventually landing into more of a writer, producer, sometimes director, occasionally actor, kind of.
You wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. I mean, from a creative side, my beginnings were actually in musical theatre. I started as a performer in musical theatre, and kind of that kind of side of me, I suppose, has always been there. I don't do so much acting these days, mainly because you've got to prioritize. But I mean, from starting from musical theatre and then weirdly sort of segueing into filmmaking, and then again into things like Davidstown, which is currently currently an audio series. It's a whole plethora of things, so it'd be hard to sort of like give you a very kind of concise. Kind of history, I suppose, but
it's a difficult industry, isn't it, to get into? And how did you navigate through that? I
mean, still navigating, to be fair.
Continuous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think of this industry very much like rapids. It's constantly changing. You never know what the water is gonna be like from one week to the next, one day to the next, even. I think the thing is you've just got to keep rowing. And then more importantly, and sometimes it can be quite frightening to do so, you've just got to let the water carry you.
Yeah.
So you can breathe.
Release it.
Yeah. So I think we're living in an age at the moment, when, especially in the industry, where things are changing so rapidly through, AI's, obviously upturned a lot of things. The whole sort of market's changed massively since lockdown, since COVID.
And what are the implications on people like you and me? What are we facing right now? Because a lot of the listeners won't know.
We're facing a lot of uncertainty, for sure. And I think anyone in this industry, I think, will be the first word they might use. There's a lot of uncertainty because the old systems that used to exist, the old way of things being, was seemingly upended overnight. Not literally, but not in very short order. And not many people have an answer as to what the next thing looks like and where the next the next processes are going to be, what they're going to look like, so you can go, oh, I know what I need to do now. I need to just apply myself in this way and I'll be okay. A lot of people aren't in that situation because either they've come into the industry at a time where suddenly everything changed and so they're back to square one, or worse still, they've been in the industry for 30, 40 years maybe, and suddenly everything's just changed and gone, and they're left without really knowing what it is. So the biggest challenge at the moment, I think, is just not knowing where things are going to go and how they're going to look in, like, say, another year. I think even is a struggle at the moment, and that's one of the biggest problems I think we're seeing in the world generally. Is we are in the first time in history where we don't know what next year is going to look like, let alone 5 years or 10 years from now.
It's hard to plan, right?
Absolutely. It's almost impossible, financially, in every conceivable way. And that's frightening for a lot of people. And again, it creates a lot of uncertainty. So how we navigate that, we just have to take it as day at a time. We have to take it a day at a time as a business almost, personally, absolutely.
Because having a business and being an entrepreneur, I think on a lot of podcasts is celebrated, and it's like, you should do this and you'll get your freedom and X, Y, Z. And we're laughing, right? Because it's so hard.
I saw a meme the other day, which kind of like made me laugh on the outside and cry on the inside. And it was something, I'm probably paraphrasing here, but it was something along the lines of, I decided to give up my 9 to 5 to be unemployed. Now I work 24/7.
Yeah. When does it stop?
To be self-employed, sorry. Yeah, not unemployed, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And that's so true, because I think for anyone who wants to make a success at self-employment, you've got to work hard. That is absolutely hands down always going to be a thing. I think what a lot of us do, you're a great example of this as well, is that we give 110%. And that's not bragging. That's just how we work.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
It's so competitive.
And probably
you have
more,
to.
absolutely.
And your competition is given 110%, 150%, 200%.
Right,
So you've
exactly.
you have to put that in.
But sometimes we don't know when to stop. And then that causes its own particular challenges as well. So
how do you navigate through that? Because I can relate to this feeling of, I need to keep going, being on that hamster wheel, constantly running, taking jobs whenever I can, taking clients whenever I can. Even if I've hit capacity, I don't do that anymore. But I have been in that position. How do you step off the hamster wheel?
It's difficult. It's really difficult. My role in this business is to be a storyteller. So I do a lot of writing as well as producing. So if I'm not thinking about logistics, I'm thinking about stories. So consequently, my brain runs.
It's never switching.
Never switching off. Yeah, very, very rarely. Like, I mean, I'm undiagnosed. I'm pretty sure I've got a lot of ADHD traits, and consequently, I'm sort of thinking always on the go. Always on the go. I mean, God forbid I should wake up at 3 a.m. because I will be thinking about plot points. And that's, for Davidstown in particular, I have written almost half a script in a night because I woke up at 3 a.m. with having to get a scene down, because otherwise I would either forget it or it would just keep me awake and I wouldn't sleep anyway. So how I get off the hamster wheel, sometimes it's by force. Julia might sometimes have to kick me off the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Other times I've got to sometimes take the discomfort of having to step away, because if I don't, I'm going to crash.
Yeah.
I'm going to burn out because I'm not allowing myself time to breathe or to, like, physically, emotionally, creatively recover. And it's a difficult thing, comparing sort of life to when I used to work a 9 to 5 for other companies versus now is like going on holiday even. It's such a different experience, because you go on holiday in my 9 to 5 and I could just switch off and just enjoy being on holiday. Whereas the first time we went on holiday being self-employed, checking your emails every day, still, checking for messages, making sure we haven't missed anything, and you don't really disengage from it. So It wasn't stepping off the hamster wheel. Yes, I'm in another country under the sun, hopefully, but I'm still checking my emails. I'm not, so I think as much as possible, compartmentalizing sections of your life and then having finding the strength to just stay in that because that's what you have to do at that moment. It's trying to stay, I guess it's trying to stay present as much as possible,
Yeah.
and not think too hard about what happens, what needs to be done tomorrow, what things need to look like in a year's time, because otherwise it breeds terrible anxiety.
And it's constant.
Yeah.
You could be working every minute of every day on your business.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting what you said about the holidays, because I totally relate to that. When I was employed, you get holidays, right? Yeah. Specific time that you can go away and have holidays. Yeah. When you're self-employed, you don't get that. Like, you don't get holiday pay, you know? You don't get this specific. It's almost like you've got to authorize yourself to go away. And being an actor, I've struggled doing that. Well, what if a job came in? What if I missed an opportunity? It was all centered around, for a lot of my career, losing opportunities, not what I would gain in terms of resting, reflecting, having that moment for me, having that moment with my partner or my family or whoever that might be. And I've had to proactively structure my life in a way where I prioritize the people rather than the job as much.
I think one of the biggest learning curves in the last few years for me in this whole kind of endeavor was, I mean, I came into this industry and indeed operated in many, many ways for many, many years as very much the people pleaser. And you and I both know how inherently toxic that is to ourselves. The carryover from that, I think, is that it took me the longest time to prioritize myself in healthier ways. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, far from it. However, you know, I'm old enough and wise enough, I think I can say that, you know, I know when I'm not prioritizing myself in ways that I know that I need to. It's not like it surprises me now when I'm exhausted. I know when I'm exhausted.
It's because that level of self-awareness.
Right. And that's something that's really, really important.
How have you developed that self-awareness?
It's a story that goes back to probably around about 2008. So I'm 27 years old, and I was in a not great relationship, and we'd had a baby, but I was already deteriorating mentally rapidly. And when it came to it, I had an almighty mental breakdown at 27 years old. And my life, in very quick order from that, completely collapsed in on itself. And then everything happened around me. The financial crash happened at the same time. I had this mental breakdown. The marriage ended. Family just kind of vanished. Parents, dad got cancer. Things, you know, everything just happened, and it was just like one punch after the other. When the dust settled after about a year or so, I'd been chasing after mental support from the NHS quite as much as I possibly could do, while sort of trying to keep myself going. And finally one day got an appointment with a consultation appointment with a psychiatrist, not a mental health practitioner. I'm not going to say just, because they work bloody hard, but you know, a psychiatrist, someone with a PhD.
Yeah.
Someone with a PhD is going to fix me. That was my idea, right? So I'd been working with a mental health nurse at a particular NHS trust for a few weeks. Delightful woman, never forget her. And then we finally got this appointment. She was there along with me, and then you know, I had reams of pages. I was asked to prepare, basically, you know, reams of pages of everything I thought I needed to address, everything I needed to sort out, everything that went back to, God, as far back as I can remember, right? And I turned up on the day, sat down in front of this guy, and he said, after just me trying to sort of emotionally control myself, the reason I think you're sad is because your marriage ended. And that was it.
Wow.
It was a 10-minute meeting. And
that black and white, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. I think, I mean, this is a while back, so I think I tried to disagree with him. I'm like, no, you'll feel better once things settle down a bit more. And I remember I looked at the nurse I'd been working with, and the disbelief on her face, and this feeling inside of me, I'm not sure I could describe it quite so succinctly as other than being a mixture of utter devastation and anger and sadness and just this whirlwind. And we stepped out of this building, me and her, and she looked at me and just said, "I am so sorry."
Mm-hmm.
And that was the cutoff for the support I was able to get on the NHS. I had no money, so that was it. There was no other option. So I walked back to my car, and I remember sitting in my car, and I did one of those a very dramatic moment of me yelling as loud as I could, hitting my steering wheel a bunch of times. But from that moment, it set off something. You're going to have to fix yourself.
Mm.
No one's going to do it for you. And so what even at the time, again, this would have been 2009, I think, sort of mid 2009. Even at that moment, you go, right, okay, where are the resources? Right, let's go to Amazon and start buying books. I'll do some willy-nilly research, whatever was around at the time. YouTube was a thing at that point, so there was some like sort of suggestions that people were throwing around. So, all right, I bought books on NLP, on cognitive learning, behavior. Therapy rather, and just this whole plethora of things. I just started inhaling books as much as I could do, as much as I could find the time to, because I had nothing else to do because I was poor. I had no money. I was terribly in debt after the crash. So there you go. So I sit and learn. Sat in this little flat that I was able to get at the time, thanks to my family, and just read these books. And just went. I remember there's a few moments where we went, that rings a bell. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, why does that make sense now? And sort of started from there. But it was a slow process because I'm trying to rewrite, 27, 28 years worth of programming at this point. That's like me trying to look at the sky and go, it's not blue. It's some other color, knowing, it felt completely alien to me. So while the ideas were intriguing, they didn't just I didn't just learn it and go, problem solved.
Yeah, it's continuous,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So that was kind of like you're learning the theory. The hard part was putting it into practice.
Put it into practice, yeah. Knowledge is useless without
action.
Action,
absolutely. Yeah. And then other things came later on, exploring the mind, how the mind actually works, how the subconscious is this powerful engine that drives you as a person. I went very deep into that side of things, learning cognitive functions and how we learn, how we understand, how we reason, and even how we sort of perceive the world around us, even all the way down to, learning how hypnosis works. Yeah. Fascinating subject. But the mind itself is just absolutely, it's so beautiful and chaotic at the same time.
It really is. I'm listening to you there, and we've both got very similar stories into how we got into, I suppose, the workings of the mind and mindset and becoming more self-aware. It came from after a bad relationship in a dark place. I was just 28. even the age. Do you think it's necessary for someone to go through such bleak times to the point where I know for myself, I questioned whether I wanted to be here, which is horrible to admit. And it's certainly not where I am right now. But do you think it's necessary for someone to go through all of that rubbish and to get to that dark place in order to take the steps to change their life? Or do you think there's another way? Because that's my story and potentially your story of where it starts. But I'm wondering, do we have to put ourselves through that much pain in order to do the things that are going to serve us? To wake up? Because I feel like that was the moment that I woke up and I saw things clearly. I
mean, it's a complex question because you could argue if those things didn't happen, why would you have gone down that road anyway? I mean, we're born into our circumstances, whatever they may be. Some are more privileged than others. Others don't have the best of starts. Some people have the best possible options, and yet they still can result in the same thing.
Well, there's that saying, isn't it, that bad times create weak people and good times. Bad times create strong people and weak times create
strong people.
Weak times create strong people, and bad times create weak people. Yeah, it's that saying, isn't it?
It's a tricky one. I think the first sort of thing I would love people to know is that there are always answers in one way or another. There may not be answers they want to hear, or even that they know that they exist, but there are answers. So regardless of, do people need to go for it? I mean, I'm a firm believer that we all need to experience certain levels of suffering as part of the human experience. I mean, that's what the Buddhists say.
It's inevitable, right? Though,
right,
isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's not to say that we have to live awful parts of our lives. I mean, invariably, sometimes we can't avoid, some things happening to us. That's just life. I think the choice really is: do you want to exist in it? How much of your life are you prepared to accept? This is your only option.
Yeah. So you're taking away your control by
you're
blaming,
giving it away.
Well, you're giving it away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I see this with people who are very nihilistic. It's easier to be angry at the world. It's easier to be angry at the situation. It's harder and more scary to try and take control, not to take
control. Accountability.
And yeah, exactly, because that's scary. It's uncertain. And people
don't want to blame themselves for their lot. You know what I mean? Especially
sometimes they do, and that's the other sad part, because it's easier to do that. And I think it comes down to this: it's we as human beings. I mean, you'll see this in the animal world too. Animals, human beings especially, will generally always gravitate to the easiest options. The choice is going to be, or the question we need to ask ourselves is the easiest option the best option?
Yeah, but it's working at an unconscious level, so we have to be conscious, and that's where that self-awareness comes in. And it's interesting what you said earlier about, do people want to see the truth? Do people want to make the changes? Because so many people don't. I was chatting to my sister today, actually, and she was talking about the kids and they're misbehaving. And obviously she's got 3 kids. She's a warrior, bless her. Wow. She works as well. She does so well. And I was, saying to her, maybe you want to change your behaviour, but she's so tired and she's got so much going on, and she doesn't sleep. She's got a toddler who's still crying in the middle of the night.
It's a big ask to anyone
huge
to
ask.
Think about something so profound as your own experience of life, to try and change something so profound whilst you're trying to live.
Yeah, and look after others.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it'd be exhausting.
What do you think was the most significant moment in your life that changed everything?
I think I've seen a lot of instances where I would a few instances rather than just one, where I would say that was probably a significant moment. I think one of the ones that would probably come to mind if I had to pick one would be when I met my wife. Not to be, schmaltzy, but
I love that. Be schmaltzy. How did that happen? Talk us through it.
I mean, very much a product of the age, really. But we had a lot of mutual friends through. I was still doing theatre at the time, and Julie was working at one of the theatres I was performing at, and so we'd kind of come into contact through that, but not in a direct way. I think we'd looked at each other a few times, and then 2 years later, we were both we were both on the online dating scene on a particular website that I'm not sure it even exists anymore. And we realised that we had all these mutual friends, and through theatre connections, and it went from there. We met in person not long after that, but the thing that I found remarkable about her, and I still do to this day, is that she was unlike anyone I'd ever met in her approach to life, in her approach to other people. She had a self-worth to herself which was intoxicating. A sort of a burning opinion on the world, which was it wasn't negative. It was just like, I see these things and I'm not prepared to if I don't like them, I'm not going to accept them, rather than the people pleaser in me, which went, oh, well, I'll just try to change myself to fit into that.
So
that,
you were drawn to
Yeah.
how honest she was. I love that.
Absolutely. Like at first I was like, whoa, what's all this like super honesty, but like very, very quickly I was like, I love this. I know exactly where I stand. I'm not having to pretend to be anything. And that's really where we kind of started. Number of sort of things happened over that first year, which kind of really put our relationship into focus. Especially, I, from my own sort of side of things, was still kind of working stuff out for me. But ultimately, it comes down to, were we prepared to go ahead with this? And the honest answer was, yeah, we were. And that's really where it went from. And now we're 13 years later.
So this is a confidence podcast, and you've brought up a great subject matter, confidence in relationships.
Yeah.
Do you think that's changing at the minute?
Generally?
Yeah. It's 13 years is a long time. And I know that, I've been with my partner for 3 years. Very similar, actually. We knew each other for 2 years and then got together. I'm like, what is going on here? But I was on all of the
apps.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad I missed all that
at the time,
bit,
Tinder
yeah.
and all the rest of it.
Oh, sounds awful.
And it does feel like, you're so swipeable. And have people lost, because I've got a lot of friends who are in their late 30s, women who are single, and they have lost a bit of confidence in dating and finding that someone.
I mean, the whole online market, I think, is, not to sound too dramatic, deplorable. Everyone has been turned into a product. And it's one of the biggest problems for me, and this is from psychology studies of my own and from other things that I've seen and read over the years, is we've retreated so much behind our screens and our phones. That's like, if we exist in that space, we might be chatting to people via text or even via video call, Zoom. Look at the pandemic, but every one of us must know to some degree how much we lose by not being in person, having those interpersonal connections, whether it be looking at it spiritually, psychologically speaking, whatever it is. The thing that's missing with relationships, or even starting relationships, is being in the same room. Connection.
We're missing connection. And you're so right. It's taking me back to when I was at school, and when you'd get a partner, or even when I left school, I was working at McDonald's for a while, and there were different people there. And initially I might not have been drawn to certain people, but I began relationships with people who I got on with and who I developed a friendship with. When you're on the apps, it's all based on looks. It's all based on one conversation. It's all based on one meeting.
And then worse still, it's all based on what that app decides to give you.
Yeah.
What its algorithms think you're looking for, and I think there's a lot of problems that are coming out of this use of algorithms online.
Seems to be a lot of uncertainty with dating amongst many people in their 30s, 20s, 40s, whatever at the minute.
And warped expectations of what people want. Out of relationships too. I mean, there's always debate. There's always going to be debates about gender roles, gender norms. That's going to be an ongoing debate, I think, forever. But being told by, or being guided into an opinion by an app that is wholly against what you're looking for. I mean, I came up with a proposition to a couple of friends who were similar situations, probably to yours actually, and sort of saying, I have this idea of what you want in a person is important, okay? So here's what I assigned them to do. I said, write down every single conceivable thing you would want in a partner. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. It doesn't matter how base it is or how sexy or whatever it might be. Absolutely everything. No one needs to see this. This is for you. So you are 100% clear on all these different things. Now, here's the trick. I call this a 75% rule. If whoever you meet at least hits 75% of all of those things, there's probably a good chance you're going to work to some degree. Obviously, the more, the better. You're not going to hit 100%. That's fine. But so many people I have seen over the years, friends, colleagues, acquaintances, they got into a relationship because they were lonely And quite often they got into a relationship that was just never going to work, and sometimes was just downright toxic because they settled. And I think that's a big problem as well. A lot of people, whether it be relationships or career or their lot in life, as they might put it, they settle. And then
society's expectations, isn't it? I know for a long time, my mum, she hated me being single, and she was saying, "You're too fussy. You are too fussy."
See, that would make me angry.
And it's interesting what you say about the list, because I actually, and it's awful to think that we're just a tick box exercise and that's how relationships are being developed. But I did actually create a list. I was getting coached at the time, relationship coaching, and she advised me to create a list, but I created a behaviour list, so it wasn't based on specifics of how people looked, but I wanted them to be trustworthy.
Absolutely that, and that should be part of it.
All those things, and I was very lucky, maybe not lucky, that's what I was looking for. So, I look at Tom, my partner, and he ticks off all those boxes, bless him.
Yeah.
But I do feel like society has its expectations of where a certain person should be. So women are expected to work now and to earn, but then they're also expected to rear a family and have children. And the roles of men, where is that now? They, how do you feel? You've come on this podcast and openly been really vulnerable about a mental health struggle. How is it to be a man in their 40s in this day and age? How do you steer your life with confidence when it comes to your gender right now?
I think accepting that the world changes all the time. I think accepting that I don't know everything. I think having confidence to say I know what I want and not compromising to the most part on that. I mean, you do get to a certain age, you start going, fuck it less. Or rather, fuck you less. Or more, rather. I mean, navigation is, the world changes so rapidly. Gender norms for guys, when I was growing up, were very much like the guy's at work, comes home, mum's at home, kind of thing. Very, very early 80s. Even then, sort of very, very stereotypical. In fact, it was frowned on that if a woman had to go to work and leave the kids at home with, grandma or granddad, that was like, oh dear, problems at home there then, isn't there? And I remember that. That was like, oh, right, okay. So, growing up as a zillennial, that sort of weird gap between, growing up between, I think if you grew up between 75 and 83, you're part of this really short generation of people that went from analog to digital. But anyway, the 1980s, the early 80s in England, I remember fairly well. Everything was very brown and beige, and everyone smoked, and but the gender norms were still very much there. And then gradually, the shift now is huge. So I see a lot of people my age, a lot of men my age, they don't understand the world at all.
No.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, if you don't understand what's going on around you, it's frightening. And that can lead you in one of two very extreme directions, potentially. So I think having some self-awareness about yourself, at least to the point that
at least you can know about you, because the world is changing so much and transforming so much day to day.
Exactly.
And it does feel uncertain no matter what industry you're in, with the arts, especially at the minute, it is very, very uncertain, but at least you can kind of start to get to know yourself. And they don't teach this at school, do they? They don't teach self-awareness. No. They don't teach children to check in with themselves, to understand their emotions, to understand how to emotionally regulate.
No, they don't.
They don't teach them these skills that are necessary for life.
They'll teach you how to make an apple pie, but they won't teach you how to do your accounts.
Yeah.
Or to regulate your emotions in a healthy way, or to self-reflect. And absolutely, yeah. So yes, it has changed a little bit. I know, like, my daughter has studied, certain levels of psychology as part of her studies, especially now that she's at college. But yeah, that wasn't there for us. So, and this is the thing, going back to those years with the books and the learning, it's like the answers are there, but it's not prescribed in the same way as...
And just because you learn them doesn't mean you implement them, because you're not been taught how to implement them.
Yeah.
We can learn things, we can read things, we can understand things, but then putting it into practice, that takes courage.
Yeah.
That takes strength, that takes resilience, that takes self-trust. And if you've been beaten down over the years, you're not going to think that's possible for you.
And it's all right to be afraid.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel fear.
When was the last time you felt fear?
Yesterday. I feel fear every day. It's not, if you try and avoid fear, that's dangerous. Because if you avoid the scary thing, if you avoid the thing that you don't necessarily feel 100% on, you'll be stuck. And I think I argue quite often with people, as much as I can be bothered to, is, if they feel like their life isn't going anywhere, it's because they're afraid to do something different. So when I wake up on a morning and I think about the sheer amount of work I've got ahead of me, I'm like, oh my God, that could be fear. But I'm just like any other person. I have existential fear.
Yeah.
I have fear about seeing what's going on in other countries at the moment, or even our own. But I can't live by that, and I can't avoid that. So I've just got to trust in me as much as I can do, and go from there. I've got my priorities, which it's a small list of priorities that, I've got me first. I've got my wife, I've got my daughter, I've got my business, I've got my friends, and probably in that order, to that degree.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who would say, what, you're first?
Yeah. And that's such a strange concept
Isn't
for
it?
people, isn't it?
Yeah.
What?
When you start saying, I'm going to fill my cup so that I can fill other people's, because I think we've both been in that situation where our cups ran dry and you've got nothing left to give. Whereas if you just keep checking in on yourself and filling yourself up, you have got so much more to give.
Yeah. The frustrating part there is that if you are a people pleaser and you run your cup dry, so to speak, the people who you are generally trying to please will let you do that, and then will not reciprocate like you hope they will. Because I think that's really what people pleasing is, right? You hope of you getting that like for like kind of action. Whereas I love the cup analogy. Let your cup overflow, and then it overflows into the others around you, and then so on. It's like the champagne fountain. Yeah. Fill that one up at the top, let that overflow, and it will spill down to those below.
The mask in the plane.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, this kind of almost villainous tag on the name, on the word selfish. It's not, you need to be selfish. Stop thinking of selfish as some bad thing. Being selfish is putting you first, but I mean in sensible ways, feeding yourself properly, looking after your body, looking after your mind, looking after your environment.
And are these some of the things that you would say contribute to a better mental health for you? And because you're so successful with all your different businesses. Talk about all your different businesses.
Oh, God.
Because you're a producer.
Yeah.
A writer, a director. So
yeah.
Tales from Davistown, as you can see in the background, you run that. You also have a company which works with corporate clients. You work with other film production companies and help them produce films as well.
Yeah.
You've got so many different hats, and having to steer that. So what are some of the practices that you use day to day? I mean, you've spoken about them in terms of health, well-being, that you would say to some of the listeners, here's 3 things that could be quite useful for you that I found useful that help me day to day to cope with that anxiety and that fear when it crops up.
Stop trying to control everything.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just focus on yourself. Focus on what you can control, not the things you can't. Don't worry about those things. They're going to be there regardless. So focus on you first, always. Number 2. Oh God, I could just this. You could get me on a mode of just talking for hours about this stuff.
What's prevalent for you now? What advice should you be giving yourself now? Actually, there's a good one.
Rest, sleep, prioritize rest. I don't mean like sleep in 18 hours and like like a teenager might or whatever. But I mean, yeah.
Less waking up in the middle of the night and writing.
Ideally. Sometimes, it's easy. I mean, like a lot of things, it's easier said than done. But yeah, try and prioritize rest, but look at it. Treat rest not as a guilty pleasure, but as a necessity.
So that you can put the work in and perform optimally. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like so many people get guilty about it.
And we deserve rest, right?
Yeah. But we need it. It's not that we just deserve it. We need it.
But some people, I can't sleep. I've got this, that, and the other, and it's. you deny yourself sleep, what else? If you can deny yourself something basic that you need for your health and well-being, what else are you denying yourself? And then how does that affect your self-esteem and the way you see yourself and the way that you see the world around you? What's your third one?
Third one. Make sure the people you surround yourself with reflect who you want to be, or reflect the values you want to associate yourself with. Too many of us become part of groups because we're scared about being alone, so we'll take whoever's available, and then ultimately
or we think we're not good enough, so that we see it as they've included me, this is my group now, this is my network.
Lowers your own self-worth and so on. So be selective about who you surround yourself with. Be picky, be damn picky, be doggedly picky. You don't have to be an arse about it. You don't have to go, oh, sorry, you don't fit the list. But you can just, you can just be like, oh, I don't like this person, or I don't get a good vibe, or maybe they're just not,
those behaviours don't align with your values.
Align, exactly. Exactly.
And there's this common phrase on podcasts and on YouTube, and it's like, you are the person that you hang around with, the 5 top people that you hang around with. And some people, including myself, think, well, I love some of my friends. Maybe they don't have the best behaviours in terms of building an empire or building a business, but they are beautiful humans. And in my head, I kind of go, well, I also spend a lot of time with Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty, all these different amazing, Stephen Bartlett. I'm listening to them consistently. I'm reading audiobooks. So I guess one thing that I think is really useful is surround yourself with people who hold the values that you do online as well. We are in this digital age. Use it to your advantage and allow that to infiltrate. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we've not even touched the surface.
I mean, this is literally a subject I could go on hours about, because it's such a deep pot to reach into, right?
Absolutely. This is your moment though to plug yourself and the businesses and let people know what you do and how they can find you. So take the stand.
Okay, so I would be remiss in my capacity as producer not to mention Tales from Davidstown, which is a supernatural audio horror thriller series. You can find it on Audible. You can find it on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube. Come give it a listen. It's not just about supernatural characters. It's about people growing, struggling, relationships, probably touching on a lot of stuff we've talked about in the last hour, or wherever it's been. Come find us online and follow us on the journey. Yeah,
well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm also in
Yes, you
in
are.
Tales.
Of course
So
you are.
even more reason for you guys to check out the podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe, share and like. And thank you to Cal from RO Pictures. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast today. And we'll see you very soon. We'll probably get you back on, to be honest.
Would love to.